It's working? Okay.
All right, so we're recording, so we can go ahead and start.
Okay, so we'll call the meeting to order. We have audience of citizens. We have Patrick Fisher. For those new commission members that haven't met Patrick, he's here with us from the Nutmeg Games, and he can talk about his request, which has had the involvement of Berlin Fields for a great number of years. So Patrick, why don't you go ahead and talk to us? Okay, Patrick, you want to turn your mute on? Or Jen, do you have control?
Yeah, I'm gonna unmute him.
Gotcha.
Okay, there you go.
Sorry about that. Thank you guys very much for giving me a few minutes, and we appreciate the consideration. Our request this year incorporates baseball, a little boys and girls soccer, and lacrosse. Jen has made me aware that softball will be unavailable and only available for in-town use, so we've retracted that from our request for this year. What we usually do is we request a rental fee waiver, and then we cover any cost that the town would incur for staffing. We've worked closely with Chris Edge over the since 2017 when he came into office as the economic development director, and we try and pump up the economic value there for this event for the town of Berlin. And you guys have been kind enough, going back to 2010 when the games first came to New Britain, to be a partner with the Nutmeg State Games. And we would appreciate that consideration for our final year in New Britain, which will be 2021. It was supposed to be this past year. Obviously, we had to cancel the Nutmeg State Games because of the pandemic. For our organization, we were able to keep everybody on staff until July, and then we had to lay our entire staff off, including myself, and probably won't be able to bring everybody back on until the end of February. So it's been had to make some really difficult decisions, but they were the right decisions, and it'll make us viable in 2021 and beyond for our organization, which is a small nonprofit. So, if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Okay. I see Andrew has just joined us as well, so we have full commission here.
Oh, good. Hey, Andrew.
Hey, guys.
So Patrick, this is Don, and I've been on the commission now for quite a number of years, and always pleasure to hear from you. I guess just my question again, and I think the question's come up several different times, is that what's in it for us, right? I know we've had this conversation several different times, and I understand the hardship. There's hardship around the entire world, so I get it. But what is it? What's in it for us again? If you could just explain that to the commission, because I honestly don't know over all the years that we've approved and the waiver fees, what we really get out of it. There's been a lot of questions around, we get some business on the turnpike, or we get some folks going to restaurants, et cetera. But at the end of the day, maybe Chris Edge has stats to show that. But, as you know, within our own committee here, we are challenged financially as well. And
Sure.
So I'm just point blank, what's in it for us?
Sure. What we've done, or what the commission has asked us to do over the last couple of years, is we provide, a value of a sponsorship for the trade and rental fees, which is obviously highly reduced this year without using the softball field for those 4 days. So you guys get an ad in our program, which is published in the Britain Herald. We put you guys on the athlete t-shirt. Anybody that's playing at Sage Park or any of the other Berlin facilities, which I believe it's only the other baseball field, Beretta Field. Chris made a map not too long ago of local restaurants that we provide to all those teams that are playing there. We give recognition to the town of Berlin on any flyer that we have for those respective sports that I named, as you guys being a host partner. For those. I'm open to any other suggestions that the commission has to provide. But that's basically it, Don, in a nutshell.
Okay, and that's helpful, always getting a refresher on that. So
Sure.
I appreciate it. And then the last question I have, and Jen, I don't know if you have this or not. So the waiver fee that's in the agenda is $59.80. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. That's just
So
field.
Steve, as it relates to field maintenance, et cetera, is that covered as part of this waiver fee, or is that something covered that the Nutmeg team pays for staffing on that front? How does that work? Again, reminder,
So
please.
any event that Patrick hosts by union contract, we need to have a grounds employee on staff to maintain the field in between games. If it's at Beretta, it used to be at Sage 1 and Sage 2, and to clean and empty the garbage or anything that possibly might happen at Scalise during the event.
Okay. All right. Very helpful. Thanks for the refresher. Just wanted to make sure that I get it back in my head as I'm getting older. I need some repetitiveness. So thank you for that.
One thing, if you don't mind me jumping in, what I provided in the request that I sent to Jen is an estimate of things that we would need. I have to try and schedule more than what I need in case we get an influx of teams. We usually don't use everything that's put in the request. What I try and do when we build our schedule, and we schedule like 350 games over the course of the 21 days the Nutmeg games go on, try and reduce the total number of places that we need to be. It's just really hard to staff it appropriately, provide medical staff, and so on. So, but I just throw out a big net at first, and then I condense it down a little bit. So we usually have a large number for what is proposed, and then what the actual number is usually different, if I'm not mistaken, Steve, right?
That is correct. It usually ends up being a little less than half of what you normally ask for that you end up using. Like 2 years ago, with as hot as it was in the rain days, I think both softball tournaments were cut short by a day, if not more.
Correct. Yeah, we canceled that year. I'm still recovering from that year.
Hey, Patrick, one other thing I made a note of, I forgot to ask you. You said this 21 is your last year with New Britain.
Correct.
So does that mean that you'll find another location and that Berlin won't be part of any of the Nutmeg games in the future?
We will be, it looks like we are going to be in Middletown for 2022 through 2026. I'm still, getting my hands around the facilities that they have and that are available to us. I would like to be able to use Berlin if it's possible for years to come, but I can't answer that right now.
Yeah, no, but that's helpful. So I wasn't sure if you were going somewhere northbound, southbound, I'm just trying to get a gauge. So, okay. All right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we're excited to go. I mean, New Britain and you guys have been tremendous supporters, and you've been able to help us grow the game to provide opportunities for kids to compete. We always try and search for a central location for the games because it just provides for more opportunities to compete. When we've been in New London or we've been in Danbury, our participation goes down because you kind of take out that other side of the state.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Those were my questions. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Don. Any other questions from any of the commissioners? Okay, all right. Hey, Patrick, thanks for joining us. We'll go through it. You're welcome to stay on, but we'll go through it on the consent agenda, and I'm sure Jen will give you a call tomorrow.
Yeah, Patrick, I'm actually off tomorrow, so I'll either shoot you an email or Steve will call you.
Okay, great. Thank you, guys.
Great.
Thanks, Patrick. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so with that, we have the approval of minutes of October 8th, 2020, our last meeting. Can I entertain a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from October the 8th.
Okay, second? Thank you, Tony.
Tony?
Okay, so we have a motion. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of accepting the meeting minutes of October 8th, say aye.
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 Any opposed? No. Okay, passes unanimous. Okay, consent agenda. Let me just go through one administrative issue. Item 3A, the last scheduled date says July 15, 2021 through July 25th, 2020. It should read 2021. So So, Jen, do we have to make a motion?
Whoever makes the motion as changing that date.
Okay. Okay. So both consent agendas have to do with the Nutmeg Games through Patrick's firm, the Connecticut Sports Management Group. So the first one is to sell food and beverages where they play on the fields. And the second item is to request us waiving the fees, which will not exceed $5,980 for use of the fields that are identified. So with that, can I have a motion to accept consent agenda item A and B, understanding that A will read through July 25th, 2021?
Motion to accept consent agenda item 3A and 3B.
With the change. Thank
With
you.
the change to 2021.
Okay. Second? Okay, Steve, you want a second? Okay,
Yes, I'll second it.
thanks. All in, any discussion? Now, you've heard Patrick talk. Obviously, Don raised some questions. So especially for the new commissioners, if you have any questions, please feel free to voice them.
I only have one concern, and that is to make sure that I'd like some wiggle room for this commission just in case COVID isn't dealt with. Like, God forbid that this vaccine does not survive or survives, and we have it. Great, awesome. Everything should be taken care of hopefully by July. But my question is what if we end up having something like the Pfizer vaccine falls through or something, and we have another outbreak or something, or another super spreader event? The last thing, I think this town really needs is to be on the front page of every single newspaper in the country saying that that we're hosting something like the Nutmeg Games, and there's people getting packed in, and it's being spread that way. So is there any hope that we could possibly be able to work with them to change it if in case COVID does have another uptick in the summer?
I've already had a conversation with Patrick about that. Patrick actually canceled before we closed fields last year. He understands that if we have to close fields to COVID, there's no liability or anything like that. He understands, and he's in the same boat as us.
Okay, fantastic. I just wanted to make sure we had the leeway with that. Okay.
I think my only comment is that you guys have been waiving fees for many years for the Nutmeg Games. And if they're pulling out and this is the last year, that's disappointing to hear that. My kids have both played at the Nutmeg Games on teams over the years, and it would be really a shame if they left, especially considering that, we waived all the field usage for them for all these years.
And I think
Tony,
more Middletown has more facilities than what they've had accessible to them in New Britain. I don't think it has anything against Berlin. I think they left New Britain to go to Middletown, and they're just gaining more facilities in the Middletown area.
Yeah.
Which may mean there may be some further reduction in how Berlin is used.
Right.
My only concern, and I think I've raised this several years as well, and I know other commission members have as well, is that I still don't see the bang for the buck. I mean, I know last year we questioned it. I don't even think we approved it last year, right, Donna? Didn't have to go in front of council. Council approved it?
Yeah, I think that was a couple of years ago.
Okay.
Jen, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, a few years ago.
Since I've been here, the commission has always approved it.
So it was probably under Jim Capodice, but
Okay.
we didn't approve it, and the council overrode us and approved it.
Right.
And at that time and prior, if I remember correctly, the fees were over $10,000 that we were waiving, again, because of the softball fields being used and
Right.
maybe some other fields.
So again, I raised this up to Jen, to you and Donna a few weeks back, and my only concern is, what's in it for us. I personally don't know if we get bang for our buck, but that's, I guess, Chris Edge's deal, and if he feels that we do, then we do. But Jen, I'm going to ask you this question in front of the council because I did send you this email. But, when you sent that email to Donna and I, you said he was upset, and then you came back and retracted that response. Was he truly upset because he wasn't getting what he wanted? Because if he was, then shame on him for what we've done. So can you give the commission some context around that, please? Your conversation?
I didn't mean that he was mad, upset, or rude or anything like that. I think it was more of like oh, that's going to be tough because now I have to try and find two fields next to each other, and that's something I really struggle with. He's like, it's like Zipadelli, there's no wiggle room. I said, no, they've changed the policy. When they changed the policy, you asked for Zipadelli, they told you no. So I feel like, to be honest with you, Patrick, it's going to be the same kind of scenario. And he said, okay, he's like, I'm upset, but, I understand the new policy, and, we won't put the request in for stage one.
Okay.
So he was upset, but he was understanding once he understood it.
Okay, thanks.
It's hard for us to actually understand how much business that we do get. We do know that in years past that they did take hotel rooms at the I forget the one, but it's the
Best Western.
Best Western, yeah, thanks. They filled that up a night or two or however long. So there's that. I'm sure there are some restaurants that get something, but, people normally, when our kids were playing, we'd always look for something local around the field that you're at. And so, it's hard to gauge.
Yeah,
we do know that Chris Edge has been a supporter of this since he came on. And, he's done a fairly good job for Berlin for bringing businesses in. So, for whatever that's worth, you can consider that when you vote. So, okay, so we have a motion. Is there any further discussion? We have a motion to accept consent agenda items 3A and B with the modification on the date. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Everybody?
Any opposed? Okay.
Okay.
Unanimous, thanks. Okay, Jen also included the meeting dates for January 2021, I'm sorry, January through December 21, and then January for 22. I know it's far ahead. Does anybody know of any major issue? I looked at them. They seem fine to me, but
I do want to point out that because the majority of this year we've done 6 o'clock, I did put 6 o'clock because it seemed to work for people, but if that's not going to work moving forward, we have to go back to 7, it's fine. We'll just have to change the schedule, but I just want to make a note, I did put 6 o'clock for the meetings.
okay.
6 o'clock is usually better for me anyway, Jen.
Okay. I didn't know.
It's all about you, Andrew.
No.
Just kidding.
right.
You looking for a motion to accept it?
Yes, I am. Thanks, Don.
I'll make a motion to accept the November 13th, 2021 schedule dates for our Park and Rec Commission, noticing that the 6 p.m. start time, hopefully at the Berlin Community Center. Hopefully.
Yeah, good. Right.
Hey, there you go.
All right, Andrew, you're seconding. That's what I got out of that. Okay.
Most definitely
All right.
a second.
Okay. So, any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No one. Okay. That's all set. Okay. Parks and Grounds monthly report. Okay.
Pretty much everything's situation is normal. I'll start off with the update on Scalise Lights. The architectural engineer came out and the structural engineer came out. They tested all the poles. They did all the work. They tested the nuts and the bolts that go into the ground, which are 4.5 feet deep. Everything came back positive on all 4 poles except for the pole that is currently laying on the ground. The Structural engineer came back with a remedy to shear off the remaining bolts, shift the light pole 22.5 degrees, drill 10 new holes, re-epoxy the bolts in, turn the light pole that the lights are currently on 22.5 degrees, and re-erect the pole. Where we are right now is Earth Contractors of Connecticut came back in at something like $7,200 to do all the site work. We're figuring Barnhart Crane will be somewhere around $15,000, and we're looking with any luck to have everything back up in place by January 1st of 2022. We have not heard any complaints.
22?
Yep, January 1st. Oh, sorry, 21.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 22.
I was about to say, we're going to be gone for a whole year.
Yeah, you'll be back in by 22. Yeah,
An
okay.
entire football schedule.
Andrew said that worked better for him, so we'll leave it at 22.
Yeah. We got a problem with dates with this crew. Okay.
Hey, it's 2020. Anything that can't go happen, it will.
Right.
Like I said, the temporary lights, we had no complaints. Everybody seemed to think that they worked fine and sufficient with them, so there was really no disruption in any place, so which we're happy with. The only other thing we have coming out of the Parks and Grounds report is 3 years ago we redid Beretta's infield. And if you look at the pictures, the before and the after, it's become my new pet peeve. We've tried to open the lines of communication with Berlin Little League on possibly getting some mats to put in front of the mounds so they stop standing in the same spot and causing extensive damage. So we resodded the front of that. We had conversations. We brought in about 60 tons of silt, resilted the field. So that takes care of that. Currently, right now, we just finished up wrapping up some repairs on Garrity. The infield hopefully will start maturing and growing some grass before the beginning of the season. We resodded the front of the mound there as well. And it leaves us with Puccini. Currently, Puccini right now is a safety issue and it needs some work. If we do not get on there to get some work completed before the beginning of the baseball season, due to safety reasons, we might have to close that field. It needs extensive amount of work, but we're just not sure we have the staff to take it on, and there's no money in the budget to take care of what it needs. Any questions on that?
Let me ask you about Garrity, though. We originally had Garrity listed as an issue. Are you saying that you've taken care of all their capital needs at Garrity, or there's still more work to be done that would be covered by the potential bond that we included in?
Right. There's still a lot more work that's going to be done at both fields, but getting them playable for the spring season of 2021, we thought was our number one priority.
Yeah.
So we went out there and kind of put a Band-Aid on the pitcher's mound, redid some of the baselines, neatened it all up, reset the home plate, the pitcher's mound to the right height and depth. So all of that is good. There's no major lip in the infield or the infield outfield area where a kid's going to end up taking a ground ball off of his face. Puccini, on the other hand, is the lip is probably 6 or 8 inches tall, and it's standing in the same place, kicking your feet. That we're hoping to attack weather depending. That still, both fields will need a full renovation from 10 feet out, the infield, outfield arc all the way in with some new infield material, some drainage, new irrigation, and infield material. Then leaves us with Dennehy Soccer had a sinkhole on the center line there and in front of one of the goals. We went out, we recut the area right in front of the center line, built that up, put some new sod in. We ended up closing that field 1 week ahead of schedule. We thought soccer was going to be done on the 7th. They ended up not being done on the 14th, but we knocked out the center line and in front of one of the goals. So Dennehy is looking in great shape for next year for the soccer season, because that really doesn't come into play with T-ball or baseball. It's right along where they put their temporary fence.
Yeah.
And that should conclude Parks and Rec.
Hey, Steve.
Yeah.
Steve, getting back to Beretta, right? Because I did my normal run through on Sunday, and I happened to go by Beretta, and I saw, the screen once again right in front of the pitcher's mound, meaning that people were using it and doing that. So you mentioned you're working with Little League. Is Bill helping you with this, or is anyone on the board? I mean, this has been an ongoing issue, right? And the field, as you show in the pictures, the after pictures, and now where we're back to square one again. What's Little League saying?
So I believe Jen might get my dates right here for me if I mess them up. I think we closed the field somewhere around October 1st, October 7th to start doing some work on it. At that time, we removed everything that was on the field, the L screens, the whatever else they had on there. There was just a plethora of just stuff that didn't belong there. We removed everything. We went in there, spent the better part of a week cleaning everything up. We locked the gates, closed the field for repairs. Within us leaving there, we had a group of kids hopping the fence out there playing on the brand new sod. We then removed the L screen and we moved that to another location, continued to relock it. We went back at the beginning of this week, found another L screen on the field. Somebody went into their shed, got their rakes out, and raked the field by hand. The brand new pitcher's mound and the sod now has a giant divot in it, and it's worn out. And we're watering it probably 20 to 30 minutes a day to try to make sure we get good root germination and the field is ready and playable for freshman and Babe Ruth baseball in the spring.
Right.
I'm not saying that the conversations are very open. I'm not saying they're not one-sided, but I think there's more resistance than help.
Okay. Yeah, I was very surprised because, like I said, I drove by there and then because I did my normal rounds, and I totally agree with you. The majority of our fields are looking probably the best they have ever had because of the usage, right? But you guys have done a great job on the field, so I totally congratulate the crew, and they've done a great job. But I was disappointed to see what happened at Beretta, especially where we once were. So anything we need to do from the commission to speak with anyone, let us know. I mean, we have a good rapport with Bill. We just recently talked about the signs, and we granted the approval on the signs over there at Beretta Field as well. So if you need our help, let us know.
Jen and I talked about it today, along with Debbie, and we think the best thing is we're going to try to make one more pitch to the youth groups to try to get them to work more with us and be more open of carrying the L screens on and off, using the pitching mats, buying the pitching mats for BSN that actually breathe. Yeah, so what? You're going to have to spend $300, but it's a $300 investment once every 5 years. And we think by doing the mats and bringing the L screen on and off, that you're going to extend the life of an infield probably somewhere from 3 years to 5 years without having to rebuild it, where we could start focusing our energy on other fields that currently we can't, like the goal mouse on Sage 2, the goal mouse on Percival, the goal mouse on Sage Auxiliary. Yes, they get a little thin and they're a little worn out, but they're not a safety issue like the mouth front of a mound where the ball's going to bounce up and take Johnny's front teeth out.
Right.
So Debbie, Jen, and I would like to have one more go-around of coming up with ideas to reach out to Berlin Little League and other organizations to try to get their cooperation before we bring it to you guys, if you're okay with that.
Sure. I mean, I drove by Pettit as well. Pettit, I think it's Pettit 1, the one to the left, right? That I don't know what you did there, but that looks just great. The infield is perfect. There's no lips. There's nothing there. I mean, it's beautiful.
Yeah, the crew has done a great job, and we've asked a lot of them over the last year, but they've really put their heart and soul into improving a lot of these facilities, not only baseball, but soccer and lacrosse.
Yeah. Good. Thank you.
Yep.
Do you think it's just the youth groups, Steve, or is there? You think there might be some people from the town that might be trying to get on those fields as well?
I think it's everybody. But I think if Berlin Little League has an L screen out there, I think if they lock it up with a chain at the end of the night, it's going to prevent it from being dragged on there. If they use the proper tools to rake the field afterwards, or they fill in the divots, or they don't even mess with the irrigation, which seems to be another problem that we'll attack another day is in our annual meeting with them, is we'd like them to start being more open. If you come there and your field is wet, don't turn the irrigation off. Call us. Let us get out there and fix it. And that'll prevent the infields from dying like what happened to Guerini Puccini.
Okay. Thanks, Steve.
Yep.
Okay, so maybe after you have your next round of discussions, you can give us an update on how things went, and we'll go from there.
Yep.
Okay.
Are you done, Stephen?
You got pickleball courts, or you sent us a picture. It actually looks pretty good.
Yeah, and actually, I'm just going to skip forward to pickleball really quick. I talked to Leo this week, and he is thrilled with the pickleball court. Him and his wife bought a portable net. They've been out there with themselves and some friends. I actually got another phone call today asking for the address of the pickleball courts. She also had her portable net that she's been dragging to Rocky Hill, but she's a Berlin resident, so she's thrilled that she can now just take her portable net to Berlin and play. So very good reception. As a matter of fact, Leo has a certified guy that wants to come and do like a training intro to pickleball. He wanted to do it November 22nd. I told him I needed information from him to run it by you guys. He didn't. I told him he had to get it to me by yesterday. I haven't heard from him since. But my question to you guys is, if he does get back to me, I mean, we're treating that just as a rental of any other court, correct?
Right. Correct.
Just, I mean, it's a $25 rental, so it's not like it's, we're charging him an arm and a leg, but.
I was about to say, I believe so. Yeah.
He wants to publicize it in the paper and everything for when he does it. I tried to have him push it to the spring, but he's adamant about doing it. But I told him he also had to have information for me tonight, and he didn't. So I'll see if I hear back from him.
Can I just add one thing to the pickleball court? The fence at Hubbard tennis courts has been, or East Berlin tennis courts has been there for a long time. Our goal over the next month is to replace that and put an access gate in. Where the current tennis net is now, there's a big divot or a big crack in the asphalt that we need to cut out and seal, but we have no way to get in there and do it. And with Tilcon closing the plant in the next couple of weeks, it's going to have to wait to the spring and we get the new fence so we can actually get a piece of machinery in there to cut that out and take that.
Sorry.
But the fence should be replaced by the first of the year as well, which I think will prevent anybody from tripping or getting caught on.
Okay. I think pickleball is going to be big. And once this thing gets publicized, this guy gives training or whatever, there's going to be more requests for more courts. So
I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially with this weather and COVID, this is a great way. This is a great sport to play for especially older people. So, okay. Did you want to Sage one update?
Yeah, Steven, you want to give Sage one update? Because you were out there earlier.
Sage one update. Currently, all the wires has been run to all the light poles, so all the wire to all the light poles is brand new. So if we ever decide to upgrade all the fixtures to LED, we already have the infrastructure there to go with that. They laid out 60,000 square feet of sod last Thursday, Friday, and finished up Saturday. So the sod is laid. All the irrigation is out there working properly. In some areas, the sod has already started to shoot down some little roots to already grab. So by everything seems to be going good for April 11th of next year for Berlin High School's first softball practice. The infield, they have a little bit more work to do with that. They were just putting the bases in, doing some final grooming. And then they'll put the soil conditioner on there, which actually hold the moisture in for the Dura Edge. And then the last thing is we've been in contact with Jason Pyrus, and we bought two 18-foot tarps, one to go around home plate and one to go around the pitcher's mound, so those won't get overwatered and they won't become dry and crack the brand new clay that's there. So everything seems to be on target, and with any luck, they should be done probably right before Thanksgiving.
With the exception of the building, which is coming early December. The scoreboard should be coming, I believe, next week.
The scoreboard, I think, might be up.
Is it?
It was supposed to be up today.
Oh, okay, great.
And the scoreboard's replacing the existing scoreboard, right? So that it's in the same spot.
Yeah, it's back like 3.5 feet or something, but it's not even noticeable difference, I don't think.
Yeah, okay.
Since it's up.
Yep. We have one little snafu that if you look in left field currently right now, there's a 12-foot fence and a 4-foot fence. We need to extend the 12-foot fence before the season just for safety reasons if somebody was to get up and hit the ball over the left field fence. So if you go and look at it aesthetically right, oh, where'd they go?
You're still there.
You're there.
I'll figure out how to get myself back there. But currently right now, it's a little safety issue. We're going to correct that before the beginning of the season, and we should be okay.
Okay.
You're still there, Steve. We see you.
Yeah, we see you, so you have no issues on our end.
I'm back. All right.
Steve, I think you minimize the screen, buddy.
Whatever that means.
Hey, Steve, you're not watching TV, are you?
Nope.
Steve H., are you watching TV? You look pretty relaxed in that couch.
I'm just sitting back listening.
Take it all in, Steve.
All right,
Good to see you, Steve.
If we want to talk about fees, We can talk about fees, and we can talk about Parks and Grounds and Parks and Rec all together. As you can see, there is the comparison for the field fees that you guys had asked for. Everything in yellow are the fees we are looking to change for this year. The right-hand column is what we're recommending, so I'm hoping you all had a chance to sit through it so we don't have to go line item by line item, and if you're all in agreement, you can give us our blessing to submit it to Finance Department, and then it'll go to Council in February usually. And we put these fees in place for the next spring season.
Okay. I don't know if everybody had a chance to take a look at the fees.
I did.
I did.
We added a few new fees in red on the first page. We called them the COVID fees for the pool in case we have to operate the pool as we did this summer. We wanted to have something in place so we wouldn't have to go to council just to create a new fee. Also, if you look under field and light fees, I'm just looking to, if you look on page 2 under field and light fees, and you see Scalise, Sage One and Hubbard, and Sage Baseball Zippadelli, and then you see what's in red, what I'd like to do is eliminate the first 6 lines where it says Scalise, Sage One, and Sage Baseball, and just have all fields per hour local. Instead of, now that we're uniforming all the light fees to be the same price at every field, it just makes it simple. Get rid of 6 lines to not confuse people.
That makes sense, Jen.
Yeah,
At least it does. Keep it simple. Jen, the only question that I had, I mean, the fees looked fine to me, but I remember when we met last time, you guys were going back and looking at these. These now rates are competitive with other towns, correct?
For the field fees, we're getting there. I mean, some towns yes, some towns no. That's all on page 2. You can see the comparisons. I mean, light fees, I'd say, yeah, we're about the same. Field fees, we're still a little low on on our local fees because the lowest local fee is $25 an hour, and we're just going to 50. We're at 15, I believe. So we're getting there.
Okay. All right. I mean, I don't know, Donna. I mean, at least from my perspective, they looked fine to me. I don't know about the rest of the commission.
Okay. Any further discussion?
You guys,
okay, so Jen, we don't need a motion.
We don't need a formal vote. No, it's just, are you guys in agreement with what we're doing and moving forward? Submitting.
Yes. Yep.
Right.
Yeah, I'm good with it. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Moving on. The Berlin.
Hey, Jen.
What?
Hey, Jen. I'm sorry. Just one other suggestion on this, right? So once you do what you have to do, Donna, do you think should we just maybe on every 6 months, should we just do a recast on this to see where we may be in terms of other competition? I mean, I don't know, Jen, if they changed that drastically in other towns.
Most towns will like us, and we'll change it once a year, if that.
Okay.
A lot of towns have them set. I think we're still playing catch up, which is why ours are changing every year.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Don, I think your point, for instance, when we were going through Sage One, the softball and Robin's ASA team or softball team, or whatever, they were concerned with the fees that we were going to charge them. I know Jen, maybe Debbie, you guys did a lot of going around to the towns at that moment to check the fees and, basically called them on it because they were telling us these towns charge less, blah, 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 and they don't. So I think Southington had one exception where they did charge less. But I think that it would be helpful because I ended up doing a spreadsheet for even myself for all those softball fields to put together a spreadsheet as we come up with this information per town and then once a year update it.
Yep.
For comparison, just so that for the field, so we have that information and we're not scurrying when we're, someone brings it up and wants to a lower fee or no fee. So, okay.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you. Thanks, Donna. Thank you.
Can I add one thing? Is I am a big proponent of always trying to keep Scalise on the lower side. That field is meant to get as much play as it possibly can. So anytime we can discourage a group from using Sage Auxiliary, which is a nice grass field, to put them onto Scalise, that would be what I prefer. So, I mean, let's never really try to raise Scalise too much because it's never going to pay for itself to replace it. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes, very
Yeah,
much
yeah.
so.
It
Yeah.
does.
Yep.
It does.
We're always going to be bonding like what a million, like eventually it's going to be $1.5 million in order to just replace
every
it.
10 years, yeah.
Yeah, every 10
exactly.
years.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying with inflation and stuff like that. Eventually, but yeah, I mean, it's like what $1 million every 10 years. We have to bond it anyway as a town. I mean, so I'm with Steve. That thing's meant to be literally be beaten to the dirt. Let's try to get it beaten to the dirt, shall we?
So Steve, to your point, do you think that the fees that we just talked about are incorrect?
No, I think they're perfect because I think 2 years ago when Jen, Debbie, and I redid the fees for Scalise, I think it went from $150 an hour down to like $50, which I think we thought was a great idea.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Hey, I know we skipped over a couple things getting to the fees, but the basketball courts, high school courts, tennis courts.
Yeah, the basketball courts is next. That's what I was going to talk about. We're going right in order. We're good. So the basketball courts, the travel basketball actually used the basketball courts for their tryouts for the last couple of weeks. They are completely done now. We have no more reservations for the basketball courts. We typically close them the first or second week in November. We're still getting a complaint here or there regarding there's a lot of activity in the evenings because it's been so warm. So due to the history this year of using the courts and the history of closing them, not closing them, but turning off the lights at night, basically, the first or second week in November in the past, I think we're leaning towards turning the lights off next week, if everyone's kind of on board on that.
Well, did they ever go off since the last time I texted you guys that Sunday or Saturday?
Yeah, I think Doug Solik had that fixed. I think Steve reached out to facilities on that Sunday morning, and I'm sure he was thrilled.
I just thought that was so funny. I'm like, what the heck are these lights doing now? We just had the conversation a couple of weeks ago about light fees, and then the lights are on. It was funny.
Well, I mean, if we customarily shut them off around this time of year,
yeah, and that's.
I don't think anyone's going to really have that much of a problem with it.
Right. So that's
Jen and Steve, just one of the things, just kind of looking back, right, for the summer that we had and all the issues that we had with littering and everything. Has anybody given thought to having like someone hired, minimum wage type thing, to watch over the tennis courts and basketball courts at night to make sure things aren't trashed? You know, it'd be a few hours. Maybe it's someone comes in at 7 or works a couple hours or till 10 o'clock or whenever the lights go out, to make sure the trash is picked up. We got so many complaints and we saw it for ourselves. I just think that that's something that should be considered, or if there's something else that can be done. I know, money is one thing, but we really need to minimize.
It's money, but it's also, okay, so what are we going to do? 7 to 10 Monday through Friday, and then 1 week not a single person shows up on the courts? So now you've paid this staff person 15 hours and not a single person has showed up, because it's not like their reservations or their leagues when we know exactly when they're happening. I know
I think it's weather dependent. I think the courts are used pretty much every night during the summertime. Along with the tennis courts. So I don't think there'd be it's not going to go a week without anyone playing. Now, that being said, maybe it's someone that can be hired, and hey, if there's activity, be there. If there's not, I don't know how it could work, but maybe we got to give it some thought, though. That's the point. Give it some thought, maybe talk to the town manager. It might cut down on the police calls that we have to make. And again, just trying to take care of that neighborhood over there, because they do put up with a lot. So,
if you don't mind, I'm just going to weigh in on this.
Yeah.
On a contractual obligation. Hey, Dana.
Hey, Dana.
Hey, Dana.
On a contractual obligation for the blue collar union, they get a minimum of 3 hours of overtime. So if I was to put a guy on, it'd be $45 an hour every day for 3 hours. I cannot hire seasonal help to take away blue-collar work, which picking up the trash would be. And I also don't think I would feel safe putting a 16 or 17-year-old kid out there to babysit a group of 25, 35, 40-year-old guys, I guess that's my song and dance.
I agree with that.
Well, that's fair, but, I'm going to throw this out, right? Timberland, we had a lot of issues with the union too. I would hope that if it's the right thing to hire someone, maybe a college kid or, whatever, at some wage, that somehow the union would give on that. And again, this is not a fun job, but I understand the union rules. But Timberland, we worked on them for a number of years, having to allow the men's club and other people to help out doing some things, clean up the course in certain areas. And over the last few years, and with the commission being directly involved with Timberland, the union is allowing it. It's limited, but they are allowing it. And Timberland's really looking good. So again, fair enough point, but I think there's something we have to do because what we did this summer didn't work.
Well, a job like that sounds more like to me like just having someone there as a presence. I used to work like that for over the Pratt & Whitney Field for before Huskies games. I can tell you it's the world's most boring job on the planet, just sitting there. It's like watching paint dry. 9 times out of 10, nothing happens. But it's that one time that something does happen that you're just glad someone was there just to observe, report, and, figure things out when things get figured out. And because when things go wrong, they can go really wrong, And who knows? Maybe even just having somebody there could even, if someone has a heart attack or something like that, there could save someone's life. You never know.
Is this a similar problem that was always like this every single summer, or was it just this summer?
Just this summer.
Yeah, because other towns were closed because of COVID.
Yeah, I've never gotten complaints as I did this.
So we just
this is the first time this has ever happened that, to my knowledge.
So maybe next summer, other towns, their courts are opened. We don't get the same kind of people.
Yeah, because there was a rumor that one of the groups that was causing problems was because they got kicked out of Plainville because Plainville closed the court. So, yeah, exactly. It is the first summer we've gotten this many complaints. We've never even had the littering problem until this summer.
Yeah.
Well, also, who says that, again, not trying to bring everybody down here, but who says we're going to have COVID under control by next summer? We got to look at this as a thing like this might just be an emergency type of thing.
Your new president just told you that.
Yeah, who the heck knows, man? He's
sorry.
The new Republican. The new Republican. Yeah.
Tug and cheek.
All right, let's not get into
Hey, Donna. But Donna,
right.
Getting back to your point, though, and Andrew, I was just teasing actually. So Donna, back to your thought. It doesn't hurt to have the idea out there, and I don't think it's a bad idea even to explore. We're not going to solve for it here,
right?
But it just reminds me of the old Bill role, if you will. Remember Bill? God rest his soul. He was kind of that. Yeah. Ambassador, the watchdog, whatever the case may be. Steve, understand, we got the union rules there we have to be very careful of. But if you think about what the high school does, right? Gus Rocchioli, Leo Vilius, all of those guys make all these extra cash walking around being a symbol, right? And I'm not saying it in a negative way, but they're there to be a symbol of enforcement if need be. And I think, Donna, that's what you're just saying. Someone to be like a little bit of a watchdog. So, good point.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Jen. What's the next thing?
Just banners. Just want to update on banners. Tony has been our banner police this past couple of weeks and given myself
Thank you, Tony.
a few phone calls. He's noticed some banners that were not approved by the commission. Tony had helped us out a lot by reaching out to all the members of the boosters at every sport organization or whatever to make sure that it wasn't them. Myself and Steve reached out to the AD, who reached out to his coaches. No one took responsibility for putting the banners up. We wanted to reach out because we wanted to explain the situation to the person who put them up and have them have the opportunity to take them down. But since we couldn't find out who put them up, Steve took them down. They are currently being stored in between Steve's office and my office, and if we find out who it is, we will obviously give them back and explain the policy, but we did take them down.
What did the banners say? What were the... That's why I was
They said BHS Redcoat Football supports girls soccer or supports men's soccer.
So those were the old ones, right? Tony,
Yeah.
were those the old banners?
So last year, when football put up those 4 banners that said Redcoat Football at Sage, the next day they put up those 2 white banners, the smaller ones that said we support women's soccer, football supports men's soccer. Somebody decided to hang them on the fence right next to our brand new Redcoat, banners that are hanging there. So then Jen and Steve took them down. They have them. So then somebody went out and bought lawn signs that said the exact same thing and put up 5 lawn signs all along the road leading into Sage. And then Jen and Steve took them down. And this person, whoever it is, took another set of signs and put them inside Sage, inside Scalise, inside the fence, which these guys have again taken down. So honestly, I really don't. I don't have an explanation for it. It's just bizarre.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
especially since there's no football.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Soccer's not even going on right now, for God's sake.
Yeah,
Soccer's ending today.
Yeah, soccer was the last day.
Okay, it just ended. So,
Yeah.
like, what?
It's just
I saw the lacrosse one looks really nice.
yeah.
I thought
The
the
banners.
banners look really nice that you
Yeah.
guys did. The boosters, yeah, they did.
Yeah, I thought they
a nice
looked
job.
really, really nice.
Thank
I
you.
didn't see that one, Tony, when I was there on, I can't remember what day it was, Saturday or Sunday, when the midgets were playing. Can't remember what day. I didn't see the Berlin soccer blah 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 thing, so I must have missed it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's kind of strange. I really can't explain it. I've talked to the football boosters about it, and they're telling me they have no idea.
Interesting. Well, now that Steve has them, if they go up again, it's Steve's fault.
I only got 11 if anybody wants them.
Well, our players are going to be coming down now because I just got to verify with Frank Langia, but I don't think there's going to be any more games at Sage until some future date. Yeah, so I'll arrange to have those taken down, and that'll be that for now.
So that's
Okay.
the only field we're having issues with,
Yeah.
Jen? It's just okay.
Yep.
It's
And
a
that's it.
football thing, Donnie.
I'm done.
Listen, if I had an answer, I would tell you, but unfortunately, I haven't been to anything since the summer.
I know you haven't. I know.
Yeah,
I know.
miss it, but I'm not there.
Okay. That's banners. Debbie, right? Debbie's monthly report?
Yep.
Yes. Hello.
Hello.
So I submitted the report. The only update I have for the basketball is I have now been asked by the superintendent's office to contact them after Thanksgiving to see if there's any update. So that's a couple weeks out. Not a surprise. Numbers keep increasing. So I just think unless there's a drastic drop, it's going to be a far stretch for us to get into schools. But we'll hold off and see what happens come December, and then just take it from there. I think if we get through and we can't get in at all in December, it puts the season in jeopardy. At least the kids. I don't know about the men's basketball and women's volleyball because they won't start till January anyway. So we'll just have to play it by ear.
Hey, Deb, did I see some announcement today from the governor about youth sports and canceling youth sports? Did that come across? I thought I read something or it came across NBC News. Did you hear anything about that?
I did not see anything, and our association is usually pretty good about sending stuff out immediately when it gets released. So I did not see that.
Okay.
I think that, based on the recommendations, and a lot's going to depend on what the CIAC decides. And I think they're they're scheduled next week to come out with how they want to proceed with winter sports. But right now, we know masks are going to be mandatory at all times, which is, I mean, that's tough when you're running the basketball court, especially for kids.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's going to be a lot that we'll have to look in, even if we get to schools, you know, some of the other things that we're going to have to put in place to see if that's really what we want to run for the kids this winter. So
Will
I
there
would
be
imagine if we do men's basketball and women's volleyball, that we would enforce masks for them also.
Yeah. Deb, would there be enough time after Thanksgiving to get something going for December for the youth basketball?
Well, I mean, only if we found out that, you know, I mean, if they come back and say, you know, well, in January, you can potentially use the schools. We can start registration immediately, and that will help. I mean, we've kind of decided that we don't really want to register, you know, a couple hundred people and then have to issue all those refunds.
Right.
But the registration process is, you know, I mean, you have to have at least 3 weeks for registration. So that's a big chunk of time.
Hey, Jen, so you mentioned earlier that I think it's BBA. Did they just do their tryouts?
They just did their tryouts. I talked to Dan Aikier, I think it is. Yeah. He told me that they're starting practices. They got the New Britain Y that they're using for practices, and they're going to try and start games in December. They've booked some private facilities. They're all also on hold to see. Obviously, they'd prefer to be in the Berlin schools, but they've made other arrangements to get their league going.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they maybe have 4, 5, 6 teams max, and I mean, we have 24, so there's just not. I mean, that the space for 24 teams to practice and play games, we need a lot of space. It's not even. I can't even imagine there'd be any facility where we would be able to hold something like that.
Well, once we build our community center, we would be. But Debbie, one last question on that.
Sure.
What are other towns doing? Have you reached out?
Absolutely. Everyone's on hold right now because 90% depend on the Board of Education, and no Board of Education is releasing use of schools for any park and rec at this point. So it's all. And I've spoken with. I know Rocky Hill, Weathersfield, Haddam, Killingworth, some other towns that I know people in. They're all in the same boat. And now I post on the website because they have done that we have not been given access to the school, so everything is on hold and to check back for updates.
Okay.
And that's really what it is. I think superintendents are just they don't want to shut everything down, but they're not letting groups in. It just
they got to think of the priorities too, because if there's going to be sports, it's going to be the high school sports, and then the cleaning involved. And I mean, we just have to be very careful, I would think. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of the schools don't even have enough teachers to go to school. They're looking for substitute teachers. It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Well, and if you look at our 5th and 6th grade program, potentially you could be involving all elementary schools and McGee. So it's just a lot.
You're mixing a lot.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll just we're not throwing in the towel at this point. We'll see what he has to say, and I mean they've been pretty good about giving me updates, but now I think they're just at the point where they said, okay, let's just wait till after Thanksgiving and see where we're headed at that point.
Okay.
Are you thinking of any outdoor activities?
I mean, I have a little bit. I was pretty involved and active with our fantastic trunk or treat event, drive-through trunk or treat, which Donna attended, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And I've been working on the budget, so yeah, I've checked with other towns on that also. People are just they're very hesitant to do a lot of programming at this point, even outdoor stuff with some of the towns I checked with. So yeah, I mean, I'm not shutting down the idea. We'll try to think of something. It's hard to come up with something and charge a fee for a program that people can just go out and do for free on their own. So we'll just have to come up with, and of course, weather is a big issue. If we don't have snow, can't have skiing, and we already know ice skating is, few and far between these days. So
yeah, right. Well, even scavenger hunts. I know there'd be a lot of planning involved, but, you know, I'm not sure what the fees that would be involved in those kind of things, but I understand there is planning that you have to go through. So,
Yeah.
so what do we, I mean, just tell me, how does this work though? If we can't offer any programs in the wintertime, now what happens? What happens to the staff?
Well, the staff only gets paid if they work. You mean me? Okay, so
Anybody.
I run the
Anybody.
community center, which we have groups that we have groups several times a week, and we are running programs. If you read the monthly report, I mentioned that we're doing
I read it, but
personal euphoria.
We're virtual, right?
Well, they are, because that's their instructors. We're just finishing our in-person dance classes, which we're gonna hold off a little bit after the holidays to try to do again, just to see how well things go with COVID. The instructor has a daughter in the high school who was exposed to someone who had tested positive. So we've been going through all that and trying to make sure that, you know, she is okay to come in. We've been doing painting classes in person that we've had enough to run those. So yeah, I mean, we're doing it. It's everything's a struggle. You know, indoors is not an environment that you really want to bring people into. So,
right.
And I think that's why the yoga and those classes have just decided, rather than try to kind of fight it and have to worry about COVID, they're going virtual. So,
right.
So yeah, I do have things that I have been working on. Again, the budget has.
No, Deb, my point was not for you, but just generally what happens. I mean, you know, even other town departments, things shut down. I'm just interested. So what do we do? What do we spend our time on? And again, I'm not knocking anything. I'm just trying to understand. What do you do? I don't know.
I mean, I can tell you, I spent about 45 minutes tonight dealing with. I had a group contact me that one of the parents that was here this week has tested positive for COVID. So now we're trying to go through that. Yes, go through that whole thing to see.
You spend a lot of time on that kind of stuff.
If our staff was infected, if you know.
Right.
Going through everything. It's and like just stuff like that. And you can ask Jen. I mean,
it's
things pop up constantly, and it just is so time consuming trying to get answers because we don't have protocol from the town what to do. I have no idea what to do with that. They're contacting the members of their group because we have everyone sign in, but I don't know on our end because we've not been given any direction on that. So it's kind of hard to, you know, they're trying to come up with things as cases evolve, and it at times is frustrating to get answers, but it's a huge safety thing. I mean,
that's scary, Deb. That's really scary that you guys don't have protocol in that building.
Well, I mean, we do the best that we can, but the town really has not given us any guidance on, you know, how to handle this. I mean, I think
health department,
there's no written policy. If this happens, this is what you do. And the town's battling it with staff. Now they have, I don't know what, 14 staff.
I think there's 13 or 14 staff members quarantined right now
because of exposure to COVID. So, and there was no policy on that until all of a sudden this exploded, and they had to come up with something. So it's scary to.
Geez, I should have been a consultant for the town. I had mine figured out in the middle of January.
Yeah.
I think it's all, you know, we're doing our best and we're trying to, you know, cluck along, and you know, community center is getting some usage, so we're busy with that because that's, you know, that's a longer process now to get a reservation just because of the COVID waivers and the attendance sheets that we have to follow and everything like that, and scheduling, you know, only one group per room per day because we can't ask the custodians to give up the rest of their schedule to come clean. So I think everything is just a lot more time consuming. So, you know, just trying to schedule virtual classes, trying to, you know, see if the in-person classes are still able to go through the winter, and just, you know, everything is even more time consuming now because there's so many added stuff to do with it.
Okay.
So are you going to continue allowing meetings to be held then? At, like, for instance, you know, I had mine Tuesday night. Are you going to allow these to still continue going on for now?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't been instructed not to do that, and I think what I've put in place with the sign-in sheets and everything. The rooms spread out the way that they are, everyone's 6 feet apart, wearing a mask. I think it's a fairly safe environment. I mean, anyone, you can go anywhere and potentially be exposed to someone who's testing positive. And I think we've done a good job, and I think people are really following the rules that we have in place. So I don't see us being closed down, but I don't know. I mean, they might panic and decide that it's just better to not allow people in our building, which would be a shame, because I think groups like yours have benefited from being able to.
Oh, you guys do a great job, and I'm running it tight. I'm making sure they reserve with me before they come, and then no more than 6 plus our regular people. But it makes me nervous when you say somebody came to a meeting and then they tested positive. It looked like there was a pretty busy meeting there on Tuesday night right after mine. I don't know if it was.
Oh yeah, there was that was a town inland wetlands meeting.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, if you I'm perfectly willing to just go virtual. It's just as well.
Yeah, I mean, knock on wood, I've been allowing groups in since September, and this is the first case. And I think it just kind of goes along with everything now that, cases are on the rise. So it was just a matter of time until this situation was going to happen. I think only doing one group a day and knowing that the room's being cleaned in between is, we're taking the best precautions that we can. It's just a risk to do anything nowadays. So. Okay. I don't see us being, having them shut us down, but we'll just have to see.
Okay.
Well, I think like us, right? The town recommended for any that can be virtual, be virtual. Right. I mean, don't want a lot of people walking through, but okay. Yep. Anything else, Deb? Any update on the Tinsel fundraise with the Y?
Well, it's on. We decided to go virtual. It's on the monthly report. I can we just came up with the flyer. We just started registration. So yeah, we'll do it this way. I think it's the best thing to do because again, we couldn't get access to the school, and that is kind of part of our, how when we would set things up. It's nice to have access to let people get inside if they need to and use the bathrooms and such. So
right.
Yeah, well, I think it'll be, I hope it'll be fine. It's the way that most places are going now, so right. People should be used to it. So.
I do want to say that the trunk or treat was awesome. I was there. I set up my trunk, and I personally handed out candy to the 165 people that came by, or 164. And Debbie did a great job. Thought outside the box, made something that worked. People were so gracious going through that trunk or treat that not only did they not have to get out and spend 2 hours with their kids in a crowded area, but the fact that they were able to drive through, the fact that we were so generous with the candy, and that's mostly because Debbie provided all the trunks with candy instead of asking me as a person doing a trunk to go out and buy a bag of candy and give one little kid one little piece of candy. We were able to be more generous because Debbie incorporated that into the event, and it was just, you had people there setting up the trunks. I mean, she asked her staff, and her staff was willing to come and set up their trunk. And I think that says a lot about, how they are so eagerly they want to support Debbie. And I thought that said a lot. And I honestly thought it was a great event. And I just want to say that.
It was good. I ended up getting there late. I was coming in from Boston, but, it was. I think everybody enjoyed it. I walked around, and fire department was there giving out candy, and some younger kids, high school groups, and things like that. So it was well done. And 165 kids is pretty awesome.
Put in your budget, Deb, for next year.
It's in.
Good.
We have Halloween.
That and the part-timer.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's in there also, but I've been putting that in since Steve Kelly left, and have had no luck with it. So
hey Donna,
we'll have to get the community center, and then we'll get staff, right?
Hey Donna, just so you know, Steve is sitting up and he's getting ready to hit this off the mute button to call tonight.
Yeah, well, not yet, because go ahead, Jen, Community Center Senior Update.
Community Senior Center Update. We are in the process of working with Tom from QA&M to set up some, I don't know if you want to call them focus groups or forums, basically where he's going to do his presentation They're going to be 20 people maximum that he's going to do it to, a couple nights at the community center in November and December, and then possibly a few more in the new year. The company's also working on a video promotion to kind of go through the layout, and they're having Donna from our commission and Barbara Gombatz from the Commission on Aging to do a 15 to 20 second statement, and those are being filmed next Tuesday on why we want the building.
I don't think I could do anything in 20 seconds. So
I don't think Barbara can either. So.
No, it will be. Yeah.
Barbara's going to have a really hard time with 20
You better
seconds.
start practicing now, Donna.
Yeah, right.
So
Okay.
we're moving along and getting that out to the public a little bit more. And that's it.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody?
I have one thing to bring up. So the softball booster reps mentioned to me during a meeting that in the spring they're planning on having a few extra dollars in their account, and they're parents of seniors, and they would like to dedicate or donate something towards the softball field. They don't know what, bench, I don't know, something there so that they could leave behind in kind of like a memoriam or donation of their senior kids. Any suggestions?
Are they open to ideas?
Yep, yeah, that's why I'm asking. So this way I could go back and say,
Yeah, I would say let Steve and I talk about it, and I'm sure we can come up with a couple ideas.
Okay. Yeah.
Nothing jumps out spur of the moment top of my head, but
yeah, I'd like to pass something back to them because they're very enthusiastic about doing something.
Okay.
Their daughters played for 4 years. It's their last year, and they're big time softball people. So they'd like to leave something.
Okay.
That's great. And then but Jen will be able to help you, Tony, and everything, whatever they end up doing. If let's just say they did a bench or something else that would normally come in front of the commission, and we just give it blessing. Okay.
Do you have a budget of what they're thinking?
Budget-wise? Money? Are you asking money-wise?
Yes.
Kind of cut off.
If I were to guesstimate, I'd probably say no more than $2,000.
Wow.
Okay.
They're big fundraisers. The two of the ladies that do this, and so they do pretty well for their team.
Yeah.
And you're not supposed to leave money behind. As the year ends, so they want to just clear out and whatever, donate it.
That's great. Yeah, we'll put our heads together.
Okay.
Maybe something with the new building.
Boy, wouldn't it be great if they could do a concession stand?
I was just thinking the same thing. Yeah,
But we can't. No running water.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
They definitely can't
Too bad.
afford that.
But maybe. All right.
All right, we're good.
Okay. Thank you, Tony. Anybody else? Okay, Steve, you're on.
Areno. Steve Areno.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Good night, everyone. Bye.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Have a nice evening, everyone.
You
Bye.
too.